All right. Hello, everyone. Oops, I didn't mean to move off that screen so quickly. Thanks for joining us today. I think I will get us started on time. I'm Marlena Byrne. I'm the Deputy Chief Resilience Officer for the North Carolina Office of Recovery and Resiliency. We're a division of the Department of Public Safety. And welcome to our webinar today. We are doing a series called Spotlight on Resilience, where we're highlighting different resilience topics. We've already had a few on issues like funding, and we will be having more. But this one today is on green infrastructure and nature-based solutions. And we have a great lineup of panelists for you today. I'm going to go over the agenda really quickly and go through a few housekeeping measures before we get started. As you can see, today's webinar is being recorded, so just FYI for all of you. We're going to do a Q&A at the very end following the presentations from all the panelists, but you can put your questions in the chat at any time. Just on a rolling basis, we'll be keeping track of them, and we will get to them when we open up our Q&A session. During the Q&A session, if you'd like to actually speak and talk for your question, you can just raise your hand, the little hand up button, and we will call on you. But otherwise, we ask that you do keep your microphone muted when you're not asking a question. And on that note, I will be probably muting myself periodically because I'm at the very end of a cold. So I keep coughing and I don't want to do that in all of your ears. So my apologies for that in advance. So we did unfortunately have one of our speakers have to drop out for some personal scheduling reasons today, but we still have a great lineup of 3 panelists. Kicking off will be Stephen Geltema from the City of Raleigh Stormwater Division. He will be presenting on the Raleigh Rainwater Rewards Program, which is a cost-sharing mechanism that the City of Raleigh uses to encourage private property owners to include green infrastructure and nature-based solutions into their stormwater on-site infrastructure. Then we'll have Heather Fisher from the town of Hillsborough, also with their stormwater team. She's going to be presenting on a great project that they installed a couple years ago now, I think. She'll correct me on that though if I'm wrong, in partnership with Habitat for Humanity to address some ongoing stormwater issues they were having in one part of their community. And then finally, excuse me, we will have Terry DeMeo speaking. She is here with us from the USS North Carolina Battleship Memorial, and she will be talking about the things that they've been doing to manage not only obviously stormwater issues there, that's a common theme among our panel, but also specifically, they're obviously on the coast, they're down in Wilmington, as probably most of you know, and they've got sea level rise and other tidal issues that they're dealing with there. So those are our panelists, and I'm going to take us off that, and we're going to jump right into Stephen's presentation, and I will mute myself. And Stephen, take it away, please. Oh, actually, no, don't take it away because I'm supposed to introduce you. So I apologize for that. Let me introduce you, Stephen. So Stephen Geltema is an interdisciplinary environmental scientist and technical professional with 17 cumulative years of experience as an engineer with the City of Raleigh and past engineering consulting firms. His primary areas of expertise include water resources, hydrology, technical monitoring, and NPDES, permit compliance. As part of the Water Quality Division of the City of Raleigh, Stephen supports permit compliance for the city. He serves as the point lead for all total maximum daily load TMDL requirements, which is requirements under our Clean Water Act, identified by the state and EPA while supporting various initiatives and special studies. Stephen will be presenting today on the Raleigh Rainwater Rewards Program that serves as a successful cost-sharing mechanism for the City of Raleigh to encourage and guide property owners, private, public, and institutional owners to implement stormwater controls within their property boundaries to improve water quality of stormwater runoff. All right, and with that, Stephen, thank you so much, and please take it away.
Thank you, Marlena, and thank you, Nicole. Appreciate the opportunity. Let me know if you can hear me. I get that passed first.
We can hear you great.
Great. All right. So as an introduction was laid out, I work for the City of Raleigh as an engineer. part of the Water Quality Division. And we wear all sorts of hats and do all sorts of programs and initiatives. And one of those that really touches on resiliency and utilizing our utility fund that we have set up through stormwater is this unique program called Raleigh Rainwater Rewards. So advance.
Stephen, I think you might have muted yourself accidentally.
Whoops, sorry about that.
So you might have to start at the beginning of this slide again.
That's fine. Yeah. So what is Raleigh Rainwater Rewards? As I described a little bit earlier, it's a unique incentive program that utilizes about 1% of Raleigh's stormwater utility fee to facilitate, this is key, voluntary installations of water quality improvement projects on public and private properties throughout the city of Raleigh. Essentially, it's a cost share mechanism that we have set up and had approved through City Council that can improve up to 75 to 90% of project costs through the city, and then that property owner will incur the other cost share, be it 25 to 10%. Some of these project types, which I will delve into more detail, include green roofs, cisterns, silva cells, bioretention or rain gardens, permeable pavement, or and impervious surface removal. So quite a range that some of you might be very familiar with. The most common of those that we support are rain gardens and cisterns. All right, I'm going to try not to mute myself as I advance. All right, there we go. All right, so as you can see, this is a consultation map and project map that we have roughly in the city of Raleigh. You can see it's quite extensive. This program's been around since 2009 and has steadily advanced, especially in the last, I'd say 12 years, has steadily advanced in growth and popularity and has evolved over the years too. So we have supported over 1,200 consult requests from city residents since 2018 when we start tracking that statistic. 250 plus projects improved over the life of this program. The city has allocated around $3 million in investment as this cost share mechanism. And as we've grown with the program, we've increased our funding with great plans in the future to advance this even farther and grow our reach, our outreach methods, and in other ways here. So we also recently have approved a subsidy program to assist applicants who are low income or affordable housing or places of worship and nonprofits that serve that immediate community and own that property. And then even more recently, the city of Raleigh has been reaching out to third-party support for gap funding, voluntary project support, and incentives through their means and their abilities to reach the public and grow this program and finance. So some of these program elements, and this is just a high level checkbox basically to who is required or who is eligible and how these programs are successful. So an applicant, when they reach out and they hear about this program and want to participate, the first thing is they must be a part of the city of Raleigh. We do not support projects outside of the city of Raleigh and utilize public funds to reach those projects, which makes sense. In conjunction with that, property must be within city limits. It's not an independent do-it-yourself kind of thing. You do consult with city staff. We provide guidance documents. We provide our minimum design criteria. We support and help and lead those property owners in their steps to complete a successful project. And that is a requirement that we perform. We need eyes. Even if you're a top-end engineering firm who's participating in this program, you need to have a consult with our city staff. Part of some of these projects, we do our due diligence in making sure that these projects are going to succeed. And one of those ways is making sure, especially in Raleigh and the Piedmont, that water will actually infiltrate, and these are built correctly. So we do ask for basic infiltration testing when they submit their application. And I can get to more detail as we progress in different project types. We coordinate with city staff on project cost effectiveness, utilizing the state's SNAP tool to calculate that nitrogen and phosphorus values. And then once you install and complete that project, we verify that it is correct and good, and then we'll initiate a reimbursement. But part of that, before that even occurs, is the city enters a legal agreement with those property owners with a maintenance term, typically anywhere from 5 to normally 10 years, to make sure that that device that was built continues to be what it was intended to accomplish. All right, so the next 5 slides, I'm going to go into the various people who participate in this program and give examples of supported projects. So our most common, as you might assume, is the most common participant is residential property owners. So we support we have supported hundreds of rain gardens and cisterns and permeable pavement projects on private property at homeowners. And this is a very effective mechanism to reach private property that the city does not have access to, and put the burden of maintenance and construction on that property owner. It's very effective. So to the left photo, you see a really beautiful and typical example of kind of that smaller scale backyard rain garden. And then to the right, too, tying in downspouts from impervious surface right into a cistern that has a passive drawdown system. Another very common applicant that we work with is commercial properties. And so this is a great example. As you're entering downtown Raleigh from the south, you might even be familiar. This is a Longleaf Hotel. And they've worked with us. In this example, you have kind of your forward-facing, beautiful, expensive stainless steel cisterns that they use to beautify their project. And then from a water quality perspective, hidden from the back, you can see this bottom right photo, they have a series of cisterns that collect stormwater and really route that runoff from impervious surface and enter into the ground through passive drawdown. So very effective water treatment and water quality systems that also can benefit that property to beautify and kind of tell their story that they want to tell as far as green stormwater infrastructure, resilience, and their overall goals. All right, the next often common property owner we have that often deals with us is institutionals. What I mean by that is schools and universities. So they can also participate. Bottom left is a good example of an elementary school that's tying in education and outreach with their students and their teachers. And on the top right, we have a good example of a very large series of rain gardens at William Peace University. And I apologize that the fire department is responding behind me here. You can hear that. All right. Another good example too is that often facilitates some of our larger projects is places of worship that serve that community. So this is a good example of a church in the local downtown Raleigh area that has a series of rain gardens that they've utilized and also a cistern in kind of a prayer garden concept. So really neat, very effective, and adds value to that property. And lastly, we also facilitate within city property through this program. And here's some examples of permeable pavement at our Raleigh Union train station. Also a green roof. So very heavy construction, very expensive, and heavily engineered example. That's definitely a different scope and scale of, say, your backyard rain garden. And also to the bottom right, it's hard to tell, but that's a Silva-Cell system. So basically an underground retention system with a series of ginkgo trees and a Silva-Cell type. So, all right. So benefits to the city and community. There's a lot here, and I had to trim this down. So I apologize about the text, but check it out. So benefits to the city and community. It's about, you know, a hand in glove example of education and outreach direct to the community. So what do I mean by that? You know, staff, including myself and two other people, have direct conversations and relationships with that over 1,200 applicants who reach out to this program. And so during those consultations, we're not only selling the program, but speaking about not only the overall city goals and water quality goals to their reaching their specific needs and interests, and that could be quite diverse. You know, some of these people might be interested in managing a nuisance flooding issue, which is very common. Another instance is more from an ecological perspective. Maybe they're more in tune with you know, climate action and that sort of thing, and they want to address water quality concerns in their community. I mean, there's you know, another really common example is just how do I add, you know, landscaping value that's sustainable on my property where I can manage it more easily. So there's quite a unique range of applicants that come, and we have conversations with every single one. As I just touched on, a huge benefit is mitigation, not solving, but mitigation of nuisance flooding through stormwater management. It's a huge incentivization for private businesses and promotes GSI with contractors. We have great relationships with contractors that we've grown and built and educated through our guidance documents and just the overall processes that they have to go through to get a project approved through us. Continuing on, it's a direct pollutant loading reduction. So this really enters my job and my world through NPDES compliance that the city is required through their permit. So we point to this program in many different unique ways to kind of target some of our NPDES requirements and complement a lot of our existing programs, be that TMDL, education outreach, and other means and methods. Sole mechanism to incentivize GSI were not otherwise required on private property. What do I mean by that? So the city is very, very limited in the property that it owns, and so and it's very hard to access and build stormwater control measures or facilitate programs to meet water quality goals on private property. And so this mechanism is extremely effective, and it's been very successful to work with homeowners, utilize those utility funds in a very efficient manner and controlled manner as good stewards, and build stormwater, green stormwater infrastructure on private property. And once again, as I mentioned earlier, have those property owners be the sole maintenance, or the maintenance of those devices. Through the life of this program, we become nationally recognized. So many different cities are contacting us, which I highly welcome anyone here to reach out to me, and we can set up meetings. But many different cities and organizations have been reaching out to try to shadow or learn about this program to see if they can implement it. And they're not necessarily large scale phase one type municipalities. Some of them are very small scale. All right, so track statistics. This is just a very few. As mentioned earlier, we've spent about $3.3 million in the city's cost share portion to date. What that's yielded, just from a pollutant loading perspective, is about 171 pounds per year of total nitrogen removed that we can point to not only as success, just from a water quality perspective, as that sort of indicator pollution of many different things, but also directly to some of our regional requirements like nutrient sensitive waters and NUS rules. And also more tangible benefit is that volume reduction that's entering into our storm system that might impact scouring and some of the receiving water issues that we've accrued and are dealing with. Per year, we're estimating about 1.45 or 1.5 million gallons per year removed just through infiltration through these devices. All right. So, depending on my time here, I'm just going to highlight some some program or excuse me, some projects and show some pictures and describe them.
Yeah, I think we have plenty of time, Stephen. So go
Awesome.
ahead, please.
Great. I appreciate it. All right. So this next slide is kind of that typical and most common device supported through this program, that residential rain garden in action. This is just a time lapse. So you can see as that rain, it enters into that garden on the bottom left, fills, and within several hours, it's already infiltrating into the ground. Where otherwise, over the space of a year, that roughly 250 square foot rain garden that this project is, would be sending approximately 40,000 gallons of water through our storm system, especially in this Piedmont where our soils don't infiltrate very quickly, and putting huge loads and stressor on our receiving waters. All right. Next project, this is kind of one of our highlights, I would say, with a commercial entity and a good partnership. This is off Capitol Boulevard, an old kind of area of town with a lot of impervious. And this property owner contracted with us to, as you can see on the left, it's got a lot of green sort of islands of infrastructure. That's just it's a large network and series of bioretention basins, where previously this was just a gigantic asphalt lot that discharged to an impaired water body within Raleigh. And so they worked with us over the space of two different events or two different phases to not only build large-scale bioretention basins, but also small-scale kind of islands to intake that surface runoff, as well as in the backsides of their buildings, they now have installed a series of large cisterns that also take roof runoff. And this has drastically reduced volume and pollutant loading in that area, and especially to an impaired water body that's located in downtown Raleigh called Pigeon House Branch. And on top of this too, I would also note, through us, we have a series of signs. I don't have a picture of it, but we have a series of signs and educational, basically placards, that when people are going to this place and going to the brewery and sitting out on their patio, they have this education outreach, and it's very forward facing, the partnership that we have with them. It's been fantastic. This is another example, kind of a utility that commercial property owners can use to benefit their company. And so this company is a landscape company. It's called Leaf and Limb. There's more of a sustainable type landscape company where they promote and grow healthy trees, among other things. And so instead of using city water that has that chloramine and chlorine, and they now use a series of large cisterns to fill up their trucks that they use throughout the city and the region to maintain their investment in other property. So direct correlation and kind of emerging of their goals with our goals. And that's been another very successful relationship we've had. Here's an example of a green roof. We don't have a lot of examples of green roof because they're quite a bit more engineer required and they're expensive. But I wanted to highlight it as this is a city property located on the top of a large aquatic center. And it's a series of it had a sustainable approach, not only, through these solar panels, but also through that green roof concept. And it's been a success. All right. And that brings me to the end of it. I know, and correct me if I'm wrong, Nicole, I know the questions are going to be at the end here. But please, if there's any interest, or if you do work for a municipality, please do not hesitate to call or to reach out. I'm typically very receptive as best as I can, and I'd be happy to go into more detail about this program with you. So.
Thank you so much, Stephen. Yes, we are going to be doing all of the questions at the end, although as a couple folks have already demonstrated, please do put your questions if you either don't want to ask them on the mic, or if you just don't want to forget them, please put them in the chat as we go along, and we will get to all the questions that are being posted in the chat when we open up our Q&A at the end. So that was great. We really wanted, one of the reasons we asked Stephen to go first was because of the structure of the Raleigh Rewards Program. It provided a really great overview of what green infrastructure and nature-based solutions are that we're talking about here today. As you can see, they run the gamut of design and engineering practices that kind of pull natural features into the built environment to address, in our case, since we're focused on water impacts today, not only addressing water quality impacts, but also water quantity impacts. And as we just saw from Stephen's presentation, there's really a huge range of things you can incorporate, everything from land conservation and planting trees to doing restoration areas, to doing green roofs, permeable paving, addressing parking areas and sidewalks like that. So we've really got bioretention facilities. There's a lot of different things you can incorporate, and as you can see from just the photos, a lot of times these green infrastructure nature-based solutions also incorporate a lot of other co-benefits. Planting trees can reduce heat island impacts in urban areas. You've got the beautification aspects of these projects. So thank you, Stephen, for providing that really great overview of what it means to do nature-based solutions in a public way like this, partnering with private partners. So next, we're going to be moving on to doing more of a kind of close look at one specific project. We've got Heather Fisher with us today. So Heather, if you want to go ahead and start sharing your screen while I introduce you, that would be great. Excuse me. So Heather has dedicated her career to advancing green stormwater infrastructure solutions